Hello and welcome, and if you would like to comment and just let me know that you're here and you can see everything, that would be great. I'm going to be comparing the new Brusho color crystals, I guess they're called, versus just watercoloring with ink refills. And this was because there was a comment from Chris Ann yesterday just wondering about the difference between using the Brusho, which she was thinking might be kind of messy or cumbersome or whatever, versus just using the ink refills. So I thought, okay, this is great. Let's get it out, because mine came, I think it was yesterday or the day before. And I thought, let me get it out and let me start playing. So, okay, I see some comments. So Jason says, good. Christine is there. Lynn, Chrisanne. Okay, good. So first of all, let me just show you this very first comparison. And this was just a strip of watercolor paper that I had just sitting there. And I used my aqua painter to apply water to the watercolor paper. And then I used the yellow Brusho and I shook it on and I just smoothed it out with the aqua painter. Then I did basically the same thing right here. I applied water with my aqua painter. I used the ink refill, and what I do with it is I just use my ink pad and I put drops of re-inker in there, and then I pick it up with my brush, my aqua painter, and I painted it on. So that was just the very first comparison, and I just wanted you to see the difference. And mainly, what I'm seeing is that the Brusho gives you a much richer, fuller color, and it seemed to just fill in better. No matter how good I tried to do over here. Oh, that was really bad English. I tried to do a really good job over here. And it's a little bit splotchy, it's a little bit washed out in the middle, and it's not even. So, okay, that was just my number one comparison. I thought, let me just start there and just see how that works. So, Chrisanne, just like boiling it down to basics, I hope that helps answer that question. And I'll show you how it works. I just wanted to show you that comparison first. So hope that is a good starting off point. So let's go back to the actual Brusho. Stampin' Up! And other videos I've watched recommend that you do not take off the lid, because you just need a few little crystals when you color. So I saw recommendations for poking a hole or two in the lid. You can use your Stampin' Piercer. You can use anything sharp. What I decided to do was grab some push pins, because I have a whole little container of these things. You can get them at the dollar store. And I just poked a hole, and then that becomes my stopper, if you will. That is going to just plug the hole so that when I store them, the Brusho can't come out. A lot of people were saying to use thumbtacks. However, that's a little hard. You have to kind of dig under there with your fingernail or, something like that to get it out. So I just thought a push pin, to me, is going to be much more successful. So that's what I did with mine. So that's just like number one tip. The other thing that I started to notice was I found that I liked having a few of my aqua painters. You can see that I've been using them with different colors. And this way I don't have to totally clean them off between going to different colors. So if you have more than one aqua painter or more than one set, you may find that helpful as well. Couple more tips. If you watched my Facebook Live yesterday on my business page, you saw that I recommended having some of these, and these, I just got them at Target. They're just cotton ovals. They're like makeup removers or whatever you want to call them. But what I do is I have one over here just in a little dish from the dollar store or the Daiso store. And I use that to squeeze my aqua painter to dab off extra color. And it just keeps my grid paper from getting all soaked. So I like to have a little stack of those. The other thing I found handy after a while as I was working is that as I was all done with this one, I took one of these and I just wiped away any extra loose powder with this. So that was kind of helpful as well. I'm sure you could use a paper towel or a Kleenex, but I just thought these are so handy, and you can get these pretty cheap. I bet these are even available at the dollar store as well. Okay, so, and the last tip, if you didn't see this yesterday in my Facebook Live, this is a hair color applicator from the Sally Beauty store. I'm sure whatever beauty store that you have in your area would have it. I love that it has this nice long tip with the hole in the end, so that when I need to fill my aqua painter, I just unscrew the lid and I can put water in there, and I can just put the brush tip back on, and I don't have to be running to the sink. It's not that it's that far away. It's only a couple rooms away. But, when you're working and you want to keep going, it's nice to just have that right there and handy to use. So let me just check and see if there's any comments. Yes, can't wait to get yours. I know. Awesome, right? This stuff was on my first overnight list. Let's see. Shannon is saying use liquid adhesive on the push pin and add a sparkling gem. Well, yes, you could totally decorate the top of the push pin. That would be very cute. Adorable. Thank you for that tip. Excuse me. Yes, thank you, Shannon. I'm glad you like that tip about having the little cotton pad there in the dish. Embossing Buddy. Chrisanne, I'm not sure. Embossing Buddy, I would think your Embossing Buddy would get all dirty from the crystal colors, and that would be bad, because then when you go to use the Embossing Buddy for embossing, you're going to be wiping those crystal colors onto your paper. So I would not use my Embossing Buddy to wipe away the extra color. Okay, so I hope that answers some questions that are going on there. A couple other things I want to show you, and then we'll get to working with this. So to me, the beauty of the Brusho versus the re-inker is that you can get interesting patterns like these. This is what I was totally after. I knew when I was seeing this product on stage and just on other videos, that the little dots of color, that is what I was going to be after. So just making sure that you can see that. All I did with this was I spritzed my watercolor paper with water, spritz, not the aqua painter, spritz. And then I just shook the 4 different colors on there. So these are the 4 colors minus the moss green. And I just think this looked amazing. So this was gamboge, this was yellow, this is red, and this is the Prussian blue. Not a lot of difference between those two that I'm seeing. To me, they were looking pretty similar. But this is the kind of look that I knew I was going to want for backgrounds, and you could, even just take, like, for instance, you could take this and stamp right over that and cut it out and use it as an image. So, Chrisanne, to answer your question about, well, why wouldn't you just want to stick with the re-inkers and the aqua painters? This is what I was after, okay? You can see a bit of that in this image where I just took my aqua painter and I colored the whole thing with water, and then I shook the red down here, I shook the yellow up at the top, and I shook the gamboge in the center, and I didn't do anything. I just let them bleed. I don't think I can get that look with simply using the ink refills. I tend to want to play with it too much and to massage it too much and to work it too much. So just having this ability to put a wash and shake and let it sit and dry, that was the beauty of this. Now, I'll talk about the green in a second, but I do want to tell you that what I did for the leaves is that I just put a dot of the lemon lime twist re-inker on a clear block, and then I used my aqua painter and I picked up the color and I painted it in. And you can see that that's very flat looking. It's beautiful, it's green, it's watercolored, but you don't have any of the depth that you have in this image. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Speaking of the green, I'm just going to tell you right off, I am not a moss green person, and I am not a fan of this moss green Brusho. It's just because it's not my color. I don't care for the earthier tones, and by all means, if you love moss green, that's totally fine. I'm just saying, for me, it's not my deal. On this one, I spritzed with a water spritzer, and I just shook the moss green, and that's it. And I just let it dry. Now, I actually like this look. Nothing wrong with that look. It's very different. You can see how many colors are in that moss green. It's like amazingly kind of crazy. This one, I did the same thing, but then I took my aqua painter and I just smoothed it out so that it would color the whole thing. And so that's moss green. Again, not my personal favorite. I'm sure I will find ways to use it and combine it and whatever, but just to show you. Yeah, Chris Ann is saying it really doesn't even look green. It doesn't in person either. I'm watching it over here on my iPad, and it's very brownish purplish. You can actually see in this one, there are purple specks in there. There's green and purple and yellow. So it's very interesting. It's definitely mossy green. Okay, enough about that, because that's just not my favorite. I'm just gonna put it over there. Okay, let's see. One more tip is that I had a scrap of watercolor paper here, and when I was testing to see how dark the blue was going to be, I just tested it on a scrap. So that's something that you might want to have nearby, is just a scrap to test. This one is one of the Memories and More cards, the new petal palette, or I'm sorry, whatever this one is called. And I wet the flower with my aqua painter, just scribbled color, and then I just shook the yellow right in the center. I shook the gamboge kind of around that, and then I shook the brilliant red around that, and I just let it sit. And then when it was dry, I used one of these pads, and I just wiped off the excess powder that did not soak into the water, and I think this is pretty amazing. Again, this was the kind of thing I was after that I knew I couldn't do simply with refills and aqua painters or blender pens or, whatever. Okay, I did this. I am not like overly over the moon about this. I thought that mixing red and blue was going to give me some purple, and it really didn't. Yeah, that was an interesting experiment. I ended up adding some yellow up at the top, and then I painted over the whole thing with my Wink of Stella. So it's not what I set out to do, but it is interesting. And It's different. You can see I hope you can see the sparkles with the Wink of Stella. So just kind of different. This is embossed with clear embossing powder over Versamark ink on watercolor paper, and then I cut it out. So those are the kinds of things that I was experimenting with. And I assume you'd like to kind of see it in action. I know you've already watched the Stampin' Up! Video, so you know how this works. But let's go ahead and just work on a couple so that you can see it in action. I did learn one thing is that you can see, well, maybe you can see, there's a couple little flecks on here. If you get any of the loose powder on your work surface and you accidentally get it onto your project, it will, of course, be coloring your project in that other color. So that's the only thing I would caution you is to change out your grid paper often and keep your area clean. I just kind of learned that by mistake because I accidentally got some red onto some blue, and then, yeah, that was not really what I was after. So, okay, let's just go ahead and do this. I'm just making sure that the water in my brush is clean. Now, you can see there's a slight orange tint. I bet you there was one little rogue crystal on there that I didn't see. So just like I said, little word of warning, if you get a rogue crystal on there, get a little more water, then it is going to give a tint to what you're working on. Okay, so I'm going to do kind of the same idea where I'm going to put some yellow up towards the top. The more you put, the more intense your color. You could make a really pale image by just doing barely a shake or two of the color and just leaving that. Or you can just keep adding crystals until it's as dark as you like. So I don't know about you, but this is pretty much magically gorgeous to me. I love the way this looks. And I know that as it soaks in, it's going to start to look more like this. I am wondering though, I wonder if I heat set this right now, if it would keep those little crystal-y looks. You know what? I'm game to try it. I'm going to do that. Whoop, okay, hang on. Just gonna see what happens. Okay, so if you want to preserve some of those little speckles, if you heat set it before it has a chance to totally soak in, I think you're going to be able to keep some of that speckly look. And maybe you're saying the speckles are stupid. I don't want speckles. Like, totally fine. All you have to do is take your aqua painter and go over it, and you can just totally blend all those colors. And you'll have a little more of this look where I let them blend on their own. But I just think this is kind of fun to be able to totally experiment with this and come up with all sorts of different looks. So I'm just going to check over here, see if you have any questions. Okay, yes, everything is watercolor paper so far. Christine, yes. Everything has been embossed with my Versamark ink pad and clear embossing powder, heat set, embossed. And so it's causing a resist then, so that the outline of this stamp is resisting the color. And I'm sorry, I should have explained that in the beginning. Let's see. Kimmy says she missed the beginning. Looks like I poked one hole. Yep. One hole. Actually, like on here, there's two because when I went to put this back in, I missed the hole. Whatever. Chalk it up to great eyesight. But the push pin is going to cover those two holes because they're right next to each other. So then when I store it, I'm going to do that. I was explaining in the beginning that I've seen a lot of people use a thumbtack, but then you kind of have to, dig under there to get the thumbtack off. And so I just thought, well, what the heck? A push pin is much easier to grab and to pull out. So that's why I was doing the push pin. So let's see, what else? Put tape over the thumbtack. Okay, so I guess, so what? So that makes it easier to pull it off, I guess? Is that what you're saying? I hadn't seen that with the tape. So, okay, I'll just believe you on that one. I know what I was going to do. I was going to do a comparison of doing what we just did with shaking on the crystals versus using the refills so that you can see the difference. So let's go ahead and again, yes, this is watercolor paper and this has been clear embossed with Versamark ink and clear embossing powder. So let's do some yellow and some gamboge. The gamboge does have a few more orangey crystals in it than the yellow, but they are really, really close in my opinion. And then let's do some red. And like I said with that, like I tried with that flower, if we heat set that, we'd get that neat speckly look. But what I'm going to do is just take my aqua painter and go ahead and blend in those colors. Just kind of dabbing around in each section. And it's just kind of melting those little crystals, dissolving, I guess, sorry, is probably the technical term. I'm sure Christy, our local resident chemistry teacher, would have just died that I said melting because it is dissolving. Too funny. Maybe I either need more coffee or less coffee, I'm not sure. And we'll just finish that off. So we will let that dry and wipe away the extra crystals, but that is the lovely intensity of the color with the Brusho. I'm just wondering, let's see. I was trying to see if I could wipe it off the embossed area a little bit. I know I can do that later, but I was just seeing how that works while it's wet. If you just get your aqua painter kind of dried off, you can use it as a soaker upper. How's that for technical? That's what I'm doing. I'm soaking up that extra color that was sitting on top of the embossed area. And I know, like I said, I know you can do this after it's dry, but I just sort of wanted that lighter look right now. So I'm just going to flick this over my garbage can so that the little loose crystals that were floating over here are getting away. I'm trying to get those away. So let's do, sorry for reaching in front of you. Let's do the same idea with Daffodil Delight, and I'm thinking that maybe this is going to be easier. Let me just grab a clear block, and I'm going to put some pumpkin pie right there, and then some real red. Where's my red? Red. Nope, that's rose red. That's not going to work. Real red. And put a real red right here. So now let's try the same idea on this one with the aqua painter. And oh, that one's almost out of water. Hang on. It's amazing how fast the water goes when you are doing this. And so these little hair color filler upper tube things are amazing. So fun. You know what? I want to see if there's comments. Hang on. Oh, the tack comes up with the tape. Thank you, Chris Ann. Okay, that makes sense. So yes, the excess paint came off the paper, Sharon. I just flicked it into the garbage can, the little crystals. But here, if I can lift that up and show you. So I was just wiping away with pretty clean brush, and I think it's going to be easier to wipe away with the little pad once it's all dry, so I don't want to mess with that too much. And yes, the colors are so vivid. That's what I totally love about this. Yes, definitely different than using the Stampin' Blends, Chris Ann, definitely. Okay, yep, definitely liking the vibrancy. Me too. Me too. So let's try this one as a comparison. We're just wetting. And we're going to take the Daffodil Delight and dab up here where we did the yellow with the Brusho. Now I'm going to squeeze out that color. And I'm going to put water down here, which I think I just put too much, but just kind of soak it up. And we're going to go to pumpkin pie and put some pumpkin pie in there. Then we're going to go right to the red and put the red. Just dabbing off some of this extra, I got a lot of water on there. Okay, so I think I would say that I've kind of achieved the depth of the color with the re-inkers, but it's because I just went straight to the re-inker, dabbing it right in there, concentrated, like a whole, that was a whole lot of color. A lot of color. So I think you can get pretty much, yeah, I'm not going to be able to fuss with this on the embossed area because it's too wet. But I think you can get the vibrancy, but I think the speckly and the blending of this one, I think I'm going to end up liking it better. Just wondering if I heat this. I've got a lot of water on this one. All right, so now what I wanted to do was grab one of these, and I'm going to put a little bit of water on it to moisten it, and just see if I can rub away the color from the embossed area. You might also try that with just a Q-tip. I just wanted to try to get the lightness of that restored. And then get a clean area and do the same thing over here. You don't want to like scrub at that because the water is going to reactivate the ink. So there's a comparison for you. They are very similar, but I do feel that the Brusho blended better. Maybe if I let this one dry without heating it, it would have blended better. It's hard to say because I heat set it, but there's a comparison for you. I still am liking the Brusho. I am really liking it. So let me just see if there were any other comments here. Thank you, Kimmy. That's so sweet of you. She says, I rock for doing this comparison. Yes, Chrisanne, exactly. I'm feeling like the Brusho is very seamless. Like it's almost just a, like some kind of a nice rainbow pad or something, as opposed to trying to add the color. That's a good observation. So, yeah. So any questions? Is there anything you want me to try? Actually, I was going to show you on the Memories and More card that it was really easy to do. So let me make sure my water is pretty clean. And I just added water where I wanted color. And let's do red in the center. Make this one a little different. Oh, I'm loving this. And then I'm going to do the yellow around the outside. I may not have put enough water on this. We'll see if we need to spritz or use our aqua painter. This crystallizing over here, I definitely didn't have enough water out at the edge. So I'm just going to add a little water. I'm afraid if I spritz, then all of the little powder crystals that went over here are going to be permanently colored on my page, and I didn't want that. Okay, I am in love. What do you think? How cool is that, and how easy is that? I guess maybe I'm just not confident enough in my watercoloring skills to think that I could do that with ink. So that is exciting me about this. I am going to see if I can just wipe away any little crystals that went right here, and I'll show you what I did with the leaves on the other one. And I just put a drop of lemon lime twist ink on my clear block, and I wet my aqua painter. And I just colored the leaves. Oops, too much water. Because I don't like that moss green with the Brusho. So I just used my re-inker. Okay, oh my gosh, I am so in. I'm going to buy like 1 million packs of these cards and just color them all. Oh, I'm loving this. I'm just loving this. I don't know. I hope it comes across on the camera as pretty as it is in person. This is really, really striking in person. I am loving this. I mean, it's not that I'm trying to brag. I'm just saying that it turned out really pretty. Okay, I can see on the Facebook Live over here that it is not as pretty as it is in person. I wish I could color one of these for every one of you and mail it to you. I mean, you would just be like, oh my gosh. Okay, Lynn, yay. She's convinced she's going to try it in January. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Chris Ann. I am glad that you liked that. Oh, I know what. This is one other thing I wanted to try. Let's just set this aside to dry. I wanted to see about doing a wash on the whole thing and then just putting some color on there. And I thought that would be an interesting way that you could either color on the DSP or you could color on one of these Memories and More cards. I was just wondering how it would look. Okay, so we've got water on there. Oh, and I forgot to tell you my best secret. If you don't want your paper to warp, you start by wetting the opposite side, and then your paper will not warp. And I totally forgot to say that. Oh well. Don't do as I do. Do as I say. And I can see that this probably... Okay, you know what? I'm just going to spritz the back of this so that it will help unwarp it. And then I'm going to just give it a little more spritz of water. Okay, this, I am thinking, how pretty would this be for a fall background? Do you see how that helped the paper just flatten out by spritzing the back? It's such a great tip. Oh my gosh, how cool is this? Okay, do you, can I just take today off and just play? Is anybody going to give me that permission? Oh my gosh, this is so cool. It's so pretty. So pretty. I am loving it. This would make like an awesome fall card. I just love it. Right, Christine, you're right. The Memories and More cards are not watercolor paper, and they're not even thick Whisper White, but you can see that they work. I mean, I've done several of these already, and they all are coming out just fine on the Memories and More paper. So, whoa. Okay, so it's allowed. Yay. Oh, if you can watch me all day. I'm afraid you might get really bored, Tommy, but thank you for saying that. Oh my goodness. So, oh, okay, Chris Ann, yes, let's do that. Chris Ann is asking if we shake powder and then we spritz the paper. Let's do that. So let me get these out of the way so that we don't accidentally... This is soaked because I really, look at that, I really spritzed it. Okay, so let's just go back to our little sample one here. So if you shake powder first and then you spritz, wait, I don't want to get this one. Hang on just a second. I want to get this one out of the way. Okay, it is safely out of the way. Okay, and then if you spritz with water, if you only spritz with spraying, it's going to dissolve it into just more of a color. So then let's see, what if we just did that and we added some up there and maybe a little down here, and we'll watch and see how that... So you can just keep getting them to dissolve together and spread and have all different sorts of beautifulness. And again, I should have wet the back of this paper and then it wouldn't have curled up. But so that's, yeah, that's another great way to use it. And I'm thinking over here, what if we put a couple shakes of the blue on top of the blue that I did? Oops, wait, it's gonna, shoot, I don't want that to, there. I didn't want that orange to go over there. So if we shake on top of the wash and then spritz. I bet when that dries, that's going to be a really beautiful mix of light and dark. Actually, this piece, I think, is going to turn out really cool. I'm going to let it dry and I'm going to use it on something. Just do a couple of more spritzes. I'm going to let that dry, and I bet that's going to be super interesting to use as a background. Yay, thanks for asking that, Chris-Ann. I forgot to show that. Oh, yeah, Carol was saying she wonders how it would look with Wink of Stella. Yeah, so fun watching the colors just dissolve. I think that's what I love about this, is watching the process and just seeing how it turns out. Obviously, it's never going to come out the same twice, and you're going to have different looks no matter what you try. And even if two people tried to do the same thing, you're probably not going to have the same results. Let's see if I can get some of that red to go off the edge there. Yeah, oops. That is going to be a really, really interesting piece. I'm just going to dab up some of the extra water there. You can use a paper towel, or you can just use anything cotton that will absorb to take off some color. And I know another thing you can do, if let's say I didn't like that real dark area, you can just take paper towel, whatever, you could dab straight on there and you could lighten that. I personally really love that. I'm liking the lights and darks, but that's another thing you can do with it, is just lighten things up by dabbing on it if you want to. So, oh my goodness, I'm loving this one that we just did with the red in the middle. That is so pretty. So pretty. So we can go back to these two with our comparisons. And I think Chris-Ann was right on. This one with the Brusho gave a more seamless melding of the colors, if that's the right word. The one with the re-inkers, while it's still very vibrant, they did not meld together quite as much as that one. And then this one we tried drying it right after we shook the crystals on so that we didn't allow it time to dissolve, and I am really loving that look as well. Very fun with that. This was wetting the paper first, spritzing, and then shaking color. This was the opposite. This was shaking color and then spritzing. So there's a good comparison on that. You're getting more of the speckles this way, and you're getting more of the blending by spraying it afterwards. So that's a good comparison for you. All right, so any other questions on there? I'm not seeing any other questions. I think I've probably kept you long enough. Oh my gosh, it's almost been an hour. Oh my goodness, time flies when you are having way too much fun. So I will let you go. I hope you enjoyed that. Here's this other piece as it's drying. I think that is stunning. So pretty. And I appreciate you joining me. I'm hoping this helped convince some of you that thought that Brusho might be too scary. I don't think it's scary at all. I think it's amazing and wonderful and fabulous and fun. And there we go. I hope that's some inspiration for you. If you have any questions, I'll hang out just for a second. And look, you're welcome, Christine. Glad you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, let me know. And otherwise, you can always comment on this video or tag me in a new post, and I will be happy to answer your questions. But I think there is a place for both, Chris-Ann, since Chris-Ann was the one that sparked this whole comparison. I think there's definitely a time and place where you want to use your re-inkers and your aqua painter, and then there is a more kind of an artsy look to using the Brusho. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. How's that for an answer? Alrighty, well, I will chat with you all soon. Oh, good. Tommy, I'm glad that you ordered it. I'm glad that you're going to try it. Thank you all so much for joining me. And, oh, wait. Chris Ann says, can you color your yellow one between the two yellow samples at the beginning? Can you color your yellow between the two yellow samples at the beginning? You know what? Wait. Are you talking about this one? With a yellow marker? Okay, I'm not quite. Oh, you mean just like use a marker right there? Is that what you're asking? Okay, well, yeah, let's do that. I don't know, markers on watercolor paper. I'm not sure. I've never done that before. I think it's going to absolutely suck the life out of your marker because the paper is so absorbent that, yeah. But, so if that's what you're asking, then there's the comparison. I've never done markers on watercolor paper, maybe just a tiny touch-up, but not for a big amount. It's going to totally suck all of the color out of your marker, and it does not blend that well. Maybe if I spritzed it, but... yeah, but that's still a good comparison. So does that help? I hope that helps. Yeah, good to be curious, Chris Ann. Good point. Good point. All right. These are so super vibrant in person. I don't know how they're coming across on your screen, but this is like one amazing amount of color right here. And wow, I am in love. In love. So thanks for joining me, and I will chat with you all later. Bye-bye.